Welcome to this session and topic, Digitalisation, Disruption and New Opportunities for the Trade Fair Industry. My name is Annika Persson. I'm Business Development Manager at Svenska Mässan and I will moderate this session. Frida, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. I'm Frida Edman and I'm the director of Gothenburg Book Fair. Gothenburg Book Fair is an event that we arrange Gothenburg Book Fair every year with over 8,000 visitors and 700 exhibitioners, and we are a part of the Swedish Exhibition and Congress Center.
Marena, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Marena Christensen. I'm a CEO for a company called iFairs. iFairs is a startup company, and we are actually at the moment building a platform for virtual trade fairs, events, and conferences. I have been working for many years as a manager for technology and digital development for companies like Nordea and the Specsavers, and now very excited to be a CEO for a startup company.
Thank you. Consumer behavior and work behavior has changed radically in response to the COVID-19 lockdown. Understanding which changes are likely to stick will help companies plan for the recovery. The lockdown has had a profound impact on how people live and work. These rapid shifts have important implications for many companies because many of the longer-term changes are still being formed. Companies have an opportunity to help shape the next normal and also find new business models. This session will focus on a chat between a company in the trade fair industry in radical change and a startup detecting a new need and new business. Frida, how has the pandemic changed the trade fair industry? What are your findings?
Well, sometimes I think that the question should be deeper than that. Maybe we should ask ourselves what kind of society do we want to wake up to after the pandemic. I strongly believe in the personal meeting and the physical meeting. I think that when we meet, we gain perspective, we get new ideas, we change thoughts, and you come home after a meeting and you are sometimes a different person because you are just filled with all this buzz and so on. So I think that sometimes we need to discuss these questions in a more philosophic way. But with that said, and maybe more to answer your question, the situation is very difficult. I think that the trade fair industry was the first industry into the pandemic, and I think that we are expected to be the last one out of it. I mean, our core business is leaning on the actually meeting in between people, and now we cannot do that. And for 6 months or even more ago, we were paralyzed, and we sat down and we looked at each other, and we were wondering, okay, what do we do and how do we do and what's the next step and so on. Basically our core business model and our core business is banned. So when we can't do the regular business, of course we need to look into it in another way. And Sweden is the most innovative country in the world. We are very creative. I think Korea is better than us, but we are the second one. And of course we need to reach out to other organizations that can help us and that can challenge us and so we find this new business model. So I think it's very hard, but at the same time there is a lot of possibilities, and I see very much of new collaborations and good examples. The challenge is that I think that we are a traditional industry, but we do welcome innovation and digitalization. It's the problem is not the technology, the technique. There's a lot of possibilities. For us, the challenge is, okay, how do we find the new business model? Because today that's a hard calculation to do. I don't see it very clear. It doesn't really matter right now how much we invest in the digitalization. We don't see the clear business model, and we are in a situation where we need it.
Yeah.
We are bleeding right now. So yeah, I think my findings is that we have a challenge because we need to change and we need to be more innovative, but at the same time we have a strong business model in a normal world, and we do believe in that even in the future. So we need to, these two perspectives need to get married, I think.
Thank you. What are your thoughts and findings as a startup in an industry in change, Marena?
Yes, so I think that the trade fair industry has been there for hundreds of years. And actually for me, it reminds me a bit of a banking industry, both in terms of the decision processes, but also when it comes to innovation. So now the trade fair business has been put in front of this tremendous change where you do not only need to change your ways of working more or less overnight, but your whole business model, as Frida mentions, it faces kind of a rapid and even permanent revision to stay in business. So I see that the startups with their innovation can help to adapt to the new world situation because the startups have the pace and the flexibility to move fast. And this might be something big trade fair companies might lack. I still do see that working with a startup should not be a short-term fix, but actually an investment in the future. So what we have kind of noticed as a startup, it is that the corporates are focusing a lot in getting their internal lines in place and manage the cash flow and maybe less in innovation. But we know also that if corporates do not invest in innovation in the future, they might face risk being disrupted, especially when there is an industry in change. I also think that not everyone in the large companies are having a positive attitude when it comes to innovation and maybe seeing a startup to add a value to a company. And because the corporates have a slow decision process, it is a kind of a difficult beast to move. So I think we could say that we have seen three types of behaviors from the fair owner side. We see the fair owners, which looking from our side might a bit lean back and almost like expect the crisis being soon over. Secondly, there is a fair owners which take the virtual fairs as an insurance for the cash flow, but during the crisis. And then there is the third piece of the fair owners who actually see the crisis as a permanent change and an opportunity to gain market share from the two above. So that's what we see from our point of view.
Yeah. Have you detected new customer needs, Frida, during this period, new innovations?
Well, sometimes I sound like an old dog, I think, but my direct answer for that would be no, actually, because I mean, we are an organizer, but we have customers in our turn. And we work for the book fair, for example, we work with publishers and writers and so on. And I mean, they want to sell books. They want to put their authors at the stage. They want their authors to sign books for the readers. They want the authors to actually meet the readers. and also I think that it's very important also to understand the fair is not just a fair. It's a buzz. I don't know a better word, but it's something that is going on in between people, and you are there. You are paying your ticket, or you're paying for your stand just to be there in the middle of that moment during those days. And I think that our customers still need that, and they are asking for it. When do you open, and how do you do it, and so on. So our challenge is also that, you know, it takes two to tango, but if your customer can't dance, you need to show them.
Yeah.
So, okay, what do we do now? I need to sit down and talk to my customer and to tell them that we still believe in that physical meeting, and I don't believe that we can take what we are doing with our fairs into a digital platform. I won't pay for that. I don't think that the customers will do that either. What we need is to be more creative and work more with innovation, I think, because you need to find out and create add-ons that is an investment for the future. So in the future, we will still work with our fairs and refill our customers' needs, but we will add on a lot of new products and services. And that's what we did with the book fair. We worked with the book fair play, and during 4 days we hosted 150 live talks, and we had over about 400,000 views during those days. So that in the future, that's an add-on, because we believe that they're coming back, the 80,000 visitors, but we can reach even more through the book fair play. So the easy answer for me is no. The need is still, the customer needs is still the same, but we can create more needs.
Yeah. And Marena, what are your statements? Have you detected new customer needs during this period?
Yes, as a startup, that is kind of our blood to do that in a way. But I think that if we look at the kind of the trade fair industry and especially the virtual platforms, I think that what we see with our competitors, we see that many of our competitors have kind of replicated the physical fair into the virtual. And we think there is a need for innovation, and therefore we think differently. So we in iFairs have been inspired by the best online platforms like Netflix and Facebook and LinkedIn, and we have tried to transform that feeling and engagement into our new virtual event platform. So that is definitely one of the things from kind of our point of view. I think when it comes to the kind of the more physical trade fair companies, I think we see a need for more simplicity and transparency, especially when it comes to the pricing towards the exhibitors. And maybe there would be a benefit of changing some of the corporate internal processes to be more aligned and digitalized and kind of make the machine faster.
Thanks. Frida, is the trade fair industry prepared for the change, do you think, or is it pure survival for now?
Well, it depends on who you ask, and now you're asking me. So, I think that we are many people in the industry that now is saying finally. Finally, the question is not about if we should work with new technology or innovation. It's not a question about why we should do it and so on. It's more about how do we do it, and it makes me glad that startups and others, don't compare digital development with the original meeting at the fairground, but with Netflix. Now we're talking, because now we get closer to new products, and we are ready for that. But that is one question, and we need to work with that all the time. I know that some see us as a very traditional industry, but we are ready to change, absolutely. And but on the other hand, we have the pandemic. The change, we couldn't close our eyes for that before the pandemic. Now we have the pandemic and we need to do some change that we have planned for maybe some years from now. And we have to do some changes in some months from now instead. So that's a huge challenge. And that's what I mean is that we know that we need to change, and we are very curious about the future, and we still believe that we believe that the future has changed already, but at the same time, it's an industry that is bleeding, and we need to be honest. We need the money to do the change.
How do we set new business models, Marena? The biggest pains detected so far?
Yeah, well, there is a few of them, at least from the startup point of view. But I think that as I see the future business model, I think that it will be expanded with new products, like not only the physical fairs, but also hybrid and virtual events to kind of to attract a broader audience, but also the younger generation. And also not to forget the sustainability and cost reduction from reduced traveling. I think that is definitely something I see for the future business model. But we also know that moving to the digital, it's a transformation and it requires new skills. And therefore, I think proper training is needed so people understand what to expect. I do think that the big corporate would really benefit in partnering more with startups because with the disruption we are kind of part of the challenging the standards.
What are your conclusions during this period, Frida?
It's hard because we are here right now in the middle of change, I think, and we don't know how the future will exactly look like. But I think that still it feels very important for me to say that I think that I am a human when I can meet you as a human, and together we create a meeting or a society, and that is very important that we all believe in that. But I think that we can take some parts of that and use that in a digital platform. But I'm very curious about the new product, the redefinition of meetings and how we can change ideas. But I also look forward to when this pandemic is over. Because we need our fairs and our customers needs us.
And Marena, what are your conclusions?
Yes, so I think for industry in change, collaboration between startup and corporates should be seen as a win-win situation. I mean, we as a startup, we bring fast innovation and positive disruption to corporates, while then the major corporates help us to test our hypotheses, but also evolve. So if corporates do not invest in innovating future, like I said, they face risk being disrupted, like it or not.
It's an exciting future ahead of us, I think. Thank you for participating during this session, and feel free to ask questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.